Right. I don't. It's like I don't think.
Please do. I'll be with you after some.
I've got baby.
Yeah, there's
Doors.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Hi. Hello. Let me, make sure that I think this is all working fine. We'll stick it over here. All right. I almost said Shabbat Shalom. It was this close to saying Shabbat Shalom. No, it's true. Shabbos is lovely, but yeah, it's not just happens not to be what it is. It's nice to see everybody here. I am sorry that we had to take a 2-week hiatus, and as I said in the email I sent out, I know that some people didn't get the message 2 weeks ago, or just didn't see the notice wherever it was posted that we weren't going to meet because I was out of town.
We did it without you.
Yeah.
I heard this. I heard this. Yeah. So they don't expire, right? They're just like.
You sounded just the same.
I sounded just the same. Yeah. Well, this is really lovely, though. I missed it, and this happens to be a day when I know I say this fairly often when I could really use this. So I'm glad you're here. Let's. Wow. I think we are giving something away. Yeah. You want to, guys want to sort of like make room so everybody can come sit up here?
Expand.
Yeah.
Hello.
Do we call it a class?
Get one more in here, I think. Yeah.
So I think this is pent up demand.
Yeah.
This is what this is, I think.
Crises are good for you.
Yeah. 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 Give everybody a chance to get settled. And yeah, glad you all are here. Got some new folks. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Happy that you're here. And especially because we have some folks who are new. Let me take a minute to just talk about what this time that we have together is about. In a minute or so, I will give some instruction, and we'll do some guided meditation, and then just some silence, just a chance for people just to sit, and we'll sing something together to transition. And after we sing, and some people will have their eyes closed, we can open our eyes, and we will take up copies of the prayer book. Are there more back there when we're ready? Okay, we don't need them right now. We don't need them right now. But
Okay.
yeah, sit, relax. But when we get there, and we'll share some of the weekday evening service together. I'll have something to say. We'll see what it is, and then and then we'll finish up. And our friend Ellen Muskin made carrot cake, pumpkin bread. Yeah. Fresh homemade, which is like, so this could start a trend. Not that you have to make it every week, but yeah, well.
Well, you started the trend.
There must have been.
Oh, with the cheesecake. Yeah, oh God, yeah, the cheesecake, right. So I made cheesecake one week after bragging that I had a good recipe, and people were like, put up or shut up. So yeah,
That's
I
right.
made a
It was
cheesecake.
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's do this. So for the first thing is to take some time to really be generous with yourself in getting as comfortable as you possibly can in your seat. And this applies to the people who are doing this at home or at the office, or people who will access this streaming later. Same for all of us. I often point out, I think because I need to hear it as well, that usually we think of sitting as not doing anything, just, sitting around doing nothing, we sometimes say. But sitting can be an intentional, deliberate activity, and there can be a lot of blessing in sitting with the intention of being peaceful and quiet, and letting go of, at least for a little while, whatever may have been clamoring for our attention. Busyness of various kinds, conversation, the media, this and that, whatever it is. This can be a little taste of Shabbat, even though it's not Shabbat, but it can be a little bit of Shabbat on a Wednesday afternoon. And maybe an opportunity to get into a place of ultimately looking forward to the actual Shabbat on Friday night and on Saturday. So at this point, having taken the time, and if you still need to do so, please do, to get yourself as comfortable as you can in your seat, I want to invite any of us who are comfortable doing so to just let your eyes softly close. If you are comfortable letting your eyes be closed, great. If that feels not quite right to you, you can just find a spot. It could even just be on the floor a few feet in front of you, and just let your eyes rest upon that point with a very soft and gentle gaze. There is a beautiful Hebrew phrase that I found myself looking into last week, doing a little studying and a little research, and the phrase is called Hakarat HaTov. Tov means good or goodness. So hatov could mean like the good, that which is good. Hakara comes from the Hebrew word lahakir, which means to recognize or to acknowledge. So hakarat hatov, sometimes it's just translated as gratitude, but I think that misses some of the flavor of the specific words. Hakarat hatov, to recognize goodness. And I think not only to recognize goodness, but to seek it out and to be drawn to it. When I first learned of this expression, Hakarat HaTov, recognizing what is good, I learned about it in the context of recognizing the goodness in one's life that comes to you through the efforts of other people. The goodness, the sustenance, the pleasure, the justice, the fairness, whatever the bracha, whatever the blessing might be, that comes to me through the efforts, through the diligence, through the expertise of others. I was reminded of a famous sermon given by Martin Luther King Jr., one of his last sermons. It generally appears under the title A Christmas Eve Sermon on Peace. And he has this beautiful passage in there where he talks about how by the time I take a shower and eat breakfast, I have depended on, he says, much of the world. He speaks of the sponge that I might use that comes from a Pacific Islander, or the coffee that's grown somewhere in Central America, or the toast that I eat, and the farmer and the baker and the truck driver, and how, this brings him to this famous passage about the interrelated nature of reality, that we are all connected to each other. We all depend upon each other. And this time, right now, just sitting here, can be an excellent and fitting time for drinking in and appreciating this quality. It's considered in the Musar Jewish tradition to be a midah, a virtue of recognizing goodness in this way. And I think we manifest that potential of bestowing goodness upon each other and appreciating and finding joy in that goodness that comes from others. I think we manifest that in just being here right now. It's late afternoon, getting darker, the sun's going down. And our spirits are lifted, and we are strengthened and comforted by the presence of all of you who have made the not small effort to be here. I know I say this a lot, but there is quite a difference between sitting alone, can be a beautiful thing, and between being here because it is peaceful precisely because it is so unusual to be in a room with people sitting and being quiet deliberately. And making, and I say this deliberately and not in a facile and superficial way, but actually bringing some shalom, some greater measure of peace into this world right now by simply being peaceful. Letting go for a little while of judging and evaluating and debating and disputing and worrying. Just taking pleasure and comfort in each other's presence. So yes, hakarat hatov, recognizing the sweetness and the goodness and the kindness and the beauty of sitting here with people, many of whose names you may not know, although we'll greet each other when we're done and try to rectify that situation, get to say hello. But for now, being together and knowing that you have something important in common with all the others who are here. At the very least, you know that they chose to be here and to value this kind of time. So if it feels appropriate to you, I want to invite you to find in your heart your beautiful and abundant capacity for love and concern and well-wishing for other human beings. Your most pure and basic impulse coming out of the purity and beauty of your soul, as Judaism teaches it, to want what is good for others. The positive blessings of life and health and love, and also wanting the blessing of relief from pain of all kinds. So even if your eyes are closed, see what it's like to access that loving and noble and beautiful part of your own soul that wants things to be well for others, and just give that to the people that you're sitting with. You might even form a little silent prayer in your heart. May you have what you need. May whatever causes you pain be eased and lightened. And knowing that you are included in the people, that you personally are included in those for whom this well-wishing is being offered, this prayer is being offered, let yourself receive the well-wishing, the hope, and the compassion that is being directed toward you. In many ways, this is the essence of what our tradition means when it speaks of striving to create a kihila kadosha, a sacred community. People who really care about each other. People who wish each other well. People who welcome each other and extend a sense to each other that each of us belongs. This is hakarat hatov. This is recognizing the good that even people that we don't know, even people that we haven't spoken to, bring into our lives. So now, let me invite you, if you'd like, to gently move your focus of attention to how it feels to be inhaling breath and to be exhaling. Being curious, taking an interest in the way your body shifts and moves on this next deep in-breath, and feeling how the body moves in the opposite direction as you let the breath go. And we'll spend another minute or so like this, just sitting quietly, being with the breath, noticing it, taking an interest in it, and when you realize that you've become distracted by a thought or a sensation, that your mind has wandered off the breath, without the slightest hint of judgment of yourself or criticism, because this is natural to become distracted, just gently and lovingly bring your attention back to how it feels to you to be breathing. So let's sing a little something together. This is a little melody that we've often sung. It just has one word. The word is hineni. Hineni is a distinguished word in the Hebrew Bible. It means here I am. I am present. I am awake in my life at this moment, and I am open to receiving an understanding of what happens next and what I need to do. All in that word, hineni, here I am. So we'll sing this through a bunch of times. It's not hard to pick up. If you know it off the bat, you can join in. It goes like this. Hineni, 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 hineni. That's the whole thing. Hineni, 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 hineni. One last time. Hineni, please don't rush. Please take your time. There's no hurry. Whenever you feel like you're ready, you can let your eyes gently open. So, for those of us who would like to do so, we're going to take up some of the prayers in the prayer book from the weekday evening service. There are copies back on the book cart. So we start over on page 4. And for those who aren't familiar with the book, it goes Hebrew style. It goes right to left. We'll pick up with the call to worship, Baruch Hu. And I'll also say, as we go into this part, I'll give some prompts about standing or sitting, and if you want to stand, that's great. If you want to stay seated, you can. So page 4, the call to worship, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed. And in the Hebrew on page 6, we'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ariv Haravim. And let's go over to page 9. In the middle of the page, we'll read together. All goodness and truth are yours, O God. May no evil estrange us from you. Let error not confound us. Help us understand your will. In adversity and prosperity, may your law be our light. May our deeds reflect your love. Baruch atah Adonai Ohel. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. But he's welcome to have a seat if you like, and we're going to continue on page 12 with this passage from the Torah, from Deuteronomy to be exact, V'ahavta, and we'll chant the Hebrew together. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadabarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am v'shmitecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech u'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot ayadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha L'man tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim li'yot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. On page 15, we'll join together in reading in the middle of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, There is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. And on page 16. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokeya yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze Elianu ve'yamru anu ve'yamaru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov v'gu'alohi miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Amen. Page 18. The third line of this evening prayer, Hashkivenu, Ufros Alenu Sukat Shlomecha. I was reading something by a Jewish author, I cannot remember whom, recently, about hope in times that seem short on hope. And the author said that, I think it was originally written in Hebrew, said that using the word ulai, ulai means maybe, is in and of itself an act of hope. Just the ability to say maybe. So ulai, right, maybe. We sing this line, Ufros alenu sukat shlomecha, which means spread over us and over all who desperately need peace. Sukat shlomecha, a shelter of your peace. So we'll sing that third line together. Ufiros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha, ufiros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha, ya la la la, ya la la la, la 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 la, ya la la la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ufiros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha, ya la la la, ya la la la, la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, la 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 la. Beautiful. Page 20, the Reader's Kaddish, which is a path, a bridge into the Amidah, the standing prayer. So we'll start here. Yikadav yikadash shemei Rabba v'yalmad yivarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyumechon u'v'chay dechol beit Yisrael b'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen yehi shmei Rabba mevorach la'olam olamei amaya yitbarach. The V'yitparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Barichu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Tamiran liyama limru amen. All right, so page 74 is where the weekday evening tefillah begins. We'll stand in a moment. You're welcome to stand if you want. And we'll sing through the first few Hebrew blessings on the even-numbered pages and then just go off into silence with whatever thoughts and prayers are in your heart. And if you're standing, when you feel like your prayer of the heart is finished, you can just have a seat and then we'll come back together. So page 74. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, V'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor v'Olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol, Atah Rav l'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim b'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol b'Rachamim Rabim, Somech noflim v'rovei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato lishenei afar, V'chamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melach, Melech memit v'mechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim v'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. And toward the bottom of page 100, if you need the words. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, v'yakol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, v'yakol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Good evening, everybody. Erev Tov. Wow, wow, wow. I still wish that you could sit up here where I'm getting like the THX stereo effect of like everybody's singing. It sounds so amazing. So, a couple of words about the Torah portion. We are, this Shabbat morning, here and in synagogues all over the world, going to be reading one of the further portions in the book of Genesis, the book of Breshit. In Hebrew, it's called Chayei Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. And it's one of a couple of portions. There's another one called Vayechi. So Vayechi and Chayei is like Chai, like somebody wears a Chai necklace, or we say L'chaim, right? It means, to life. So Chayei Sarah means Sarah's life. But it's one of the two Torah portions that have the word life in the name, but it's a little bit deceptive because they're really about someone's passing away. In this case, the portion begins by saying, Vayhi Chayei Sarah, that Sarah's life, meaning the span of her life was, and then it tells how old she was when she passed away. There is a line in the portion near the beginning that says, Va'avraham Zakein, Abraham was old, Ba Bayamim, which you have to translate colloquially. The Hebrew doesn't make sense if you translate it literally. We would say like getting up in years. It's interesting, Ba means come, to come, and Yamim means days. So the sort of biblical Hebrew equivalent of getting on in years is coming along in days. I'm not sure which one is like more gentle, right? But Abraham was Zakein, Baba Yamim, and then this lovely phrase, Varonai Berach et Avraham Bakol. And God had blessed Abraham, and then this word Bakol, kol means all or every. So something like God had blessed Abraham in everything, or maybe God had blessed Abraham, with everything. There's this interesting, there's a bit of redundancy between old and getting up in years. And so that kind of redundancy is one of the things that Rashi and the other rabbinic commentators look at. The word, I already said, Baba Yami means like getting up in days, coming along in days. The word Zakein, which is one of several Hebrew words for older person. Another one is Seva. I hesitate to say this. Another one is Seva, which literally means gray-haired. So, Zakein for old comes from the Hebrew word Zakan, which means beard, actually, right? So the Midrash tells, so there's a question, what's the difference, right? So some people say, well, Baba Yamim, right, means just, is a number, right? Zakein, I think taking it from the idea that when the Torah talks about the Zikenim, plural, it means the elders, not just in the sense of like Moses got a bunch of old guys together, but rather people, what's the assumption? In many traditional cultures, what's the tradition about older people?
Wisdom.
That they have wisdom, right? Whether our culture still holds that to be true, I don't know, right? So the Zikenim means like the elders in the sense of like the wise people. So, well, maybe Baba Yamim means, he was just getting up in years. And Zakein means he had acquired some wisdom. I would sometimes teach B'nai Mitzvah about this and about this, traditional assumption in many cultures that if you're older, you're wise. And I would say to them, well, is that necessarily the case when you're 13, right? Will is shaking his head. And I'll look at them and I'll say, well, is it possible to be an old fool? And they say, yeah, you could be an old fool. right? So this idea that Abraham is not only getting older, but he had gotten something out of his experience. There is an interesting, wonderful midrash, though, about Abraham, where it's great. It says that up until Abraham, it's a great legend, up until Abraham, people did not show physical signs of getting older. I guess you looked like Ashton Kutcher, or right, whatever, right? You were like incredibly youthful and good looking, and then one day you just kicked off, and it was like surprised everybody, right? Like, he looked so great, she looked terrific. Like, what happened, right?
Plastic surgery.
Blah, blah, blah. Right. So here's what happens. There is this tradition that Abraham and Isaac look a lot like each other, and the story goes that Abraham talks to God in this piece of folklore, this midrash, and says, God, when Isaac and I like visit a new place, nobody knows who's the dad and who's the kid. We look alike, and this isn't, like, how are people supposed to know how to give respect to the elder? Like, we look exactly alike. So God says to Abraham, you speak well, and your wish will be granted. And Abraham wakes up the next morning with a long beard and gray hair, right? And Abraham exclaims to God and says something like, God, you have made of me a dugma. I'm not sure what it means. Dugma in Hebrew normally means like an example, but like I'm, whatever that means, right? So, as somebody who is, old enough to be thinking about, where the thought of my own mortality is not an uncommon thought. Oh, did you see the Barbie movie? Yes. They're all dancing, so she stops because what is it? She says, "I'm having thoughts of death." Right? Yeah, and then her heels fall. Right? You think about that, right? And I think that this idea that this midrash is trying to suggest that a culture that shames its members for being older and getting older and looking older has some serious thought to do about where their values are. For myself, I'll just say, I've said this to people from time to time, I'm finally at a point where if I look way off on the horizon and squint and tilt my head the right way, I feel like I can see something that maybe looks like something that could be wisdom, like way out there, on the horizon. Some of it comes from suffering, just going through really hard stuff, Some of it just happens, right? So I just want to say, thinking about Abraham and this idea that God had blessed him and everything, but also this idea that it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible, poisonous kind of thing in a culture that tells us that we should be ashamed of getting older when we're getting older. As I have said to a few people, just in casual conversation recently, I feel like in the past 2 years, I'm finally figuring out some of this rabbi stuff. And I'm not saying that to be cute. I mean for real. Like, I'm finally figuring some stuff out. Maybe this is easy advice to give and hard advice to take, but the older you get, the more of the parchment of your personal Torah is filled in. And in the part in the service where we hold the Torah scroll up and say V'zot Torah, and you get to also hold up your own scroll and say, this is my life, this is my wisdom, this is what I'm figuring out, and own it and feel proud of it, and be happy for the journey. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share. I don't think there are Torah scrolls in the Ark. I'm going to peek so that I don't feel totally silly opening the Ark for Aleinu. Oh, there are two. Yeah. All right, so we can stand up. I'm going to put this in the middle because I think it's like a missing tooth, there is a third scroll that should be there. So we're gonna go over to the inside back cover, the sticker on the inside back cover of the prayer book for our concluding prayers. First, Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, v'tekidu l'yotzei bereshit, shehu asanu k'shomrei ha'adama, v'hu samanu k'shlichei ha'torah, shehu sam chayenu itam, v'goraleinu im kol ha'olam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo So the Kaddish is on page 598. When we take a moment to remember anybody that we've lost that we want to remember at this time. Anybody have any name or anybody they want to mention?
Dan Sadler.
Okay.
David Weisenbaum.
All right. So we'll join together on page 598. Yit gadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba. V'yalma divarach irutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'yizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach li'alam v'l'omei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. So we have this custom of kind of drawing in and making a little circle at the end before we go. So I'm sorry that this lectern is kind of in the way. We can.
A U shape.
Yeah, I was going to say like a bean, kind of.
A bean.
Kind of like
A kidney bean.
Kidney bean. It's kind of like a kidney bean. Okay. We prayed that a measure of the peace and goodwill and fellowship that we have shared in this brief time together accompany us as we go on our separate ways. May the reality that such peace is possible give us hope for peace in our world, and may it help us to be, as the rabbis called Moses' brother Aaron, Rodfei Shalom. May we be those who actively pursue peace in our world. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chonecha, may God shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom, may the Holy One be with you and give you wholeness and peace in a world of equality, healing, safety, justice, and peace. We pray for all God's children. Together we say,
Amen.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Love having you here. Yeah, if some folks can just kind of help to get the chairs, back the way they were, that would be amazing. Oh, and there is pumpkin cake on the table out there, and you should get a piece of pumpkin cake.
You got it. You gonna be able to give me a ride home, Joe? Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Yes.
Not French, thank you.
it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Not bad.
Exhausted all the time, but otherwise, like.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. How's it going?
Yeah. It was really nice. The only thing I felt a little
Writing for government and trying to get some better insight. Yeah, it is. But I enjoy it. Trying to explain to them that this design
Wendy Abramson. Right. Who I like know and see. She's really good at you. I don't see you. Good night. Yeah. I don't want to hold you up. Thanks. You're always. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Rabbi Folberg. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to meet you too. I have, well, I mean, like, compared to, like, yeah, I have, like, a little bit of time. Yeah, I post, yeah, well, I post a lot of sort of, like, I post some Jewish stuff, I post, like, rabbis can actually be nice stuff. I try to be, like the nice guy.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Come see us again.
We realize we're colleagues, so I'm. Yeah, we know.
Oh, wow. Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yay.
She's an amazing writer.
Yeah?
She's a creative writer, Devil and Unford. Check her work out.
Okay. All right, now I will.
Really
Okay.
awesome. Activist. Thank you.
So, yeah. Oh, well, no, it's like poisonous right now. It's, okay. Often? It's really smart though, because it's bad for you. It's so bad for you. And I recognize it too, and especially like, you know, I say to people like our brains and nervous systems have not developed in such a way as a species to like process the rage, anger, hot takes. Of all, I feel it like sucking the energy out of my body. And the other thing with Twitter especially, were you on there before? Yeah. The other thing about it is that, first of all, it's the dopamine hits of like, oh, I got likes, you know. And then it's also just like, it gives you the illusion that you're accomplishing something. Yeah, and they joke about slacktivism, which is like, oh, I do this. Yeah. So it's, and I have a kid, 22 years old in college, who has OCD, has obsessive compulsive disorder, and for some reason, anxiety disorder in particular, the stuff is just, it's terrible, because it just makes everything worse if you just want to, right, and yeah.
It's a bit concerning, but
Well,
that's
yeah.
why things like meditation and being in the moment are very helpful.
Well, you know, who was it? Facebook owns Instagram, right? Yeah. Meta. And when the woman who left with all this documentation testified before Congress that Instagram's internal research showed that Instagram was really bad for adolescents, particularly girls, because of all the body image, stuff that they picked up. And some of these accounts that pretty much encourage eating disorders, it's like called skinny, and they knew. Yeah, so I need to follow your example. For real, because it's not, there's also this like weird illusion that like with everything going on in Israel, Hamas, and Gaza, I almost feel like I have some obligation to be engaged with that stuff. But it doesn't, it just makes me upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think start with a small break and see how that makes you feel.
yeah, I think I'm gonna like, I think I need to do like a